Alright, welcome to a very special episode of the Liv MMA podcast. These are our first thoughts, initial thoughts on Angad Bisht versus Dong Hoon Choi. Took place in Road to UFC Season 3 in Las Vegas, the Apex. These are just my thoughts on initial thoughts on the fight. I've just watched the fight once, I haven't rewatched it, so these are just fresh in my head, right? Angad Bisht loses a close split decision to Dong Hoon Choi at the semifinals. Both fighters give a really good account of themselves. I'm really happy with Angad's performance, even though he lost. I know a lot of people on social media, that's what I've been hearing, have been making the case that it's a robbery. It's not a robbery. I'll explain why. It's not a robbery at all. It was a close fight, but it's not a robbery at all. Angad Bisht showed off some very, very crisp boxing. His hands looked very good. The only drawback I saw, or the only criticism I have of his skill set is that he tends to leave his left hand down a little bit, and that kind of caused a bit of trouble against Dong Hoon Choi later in the fight. But in the first round, he landed a beautiful right hand right on the bridge of the nose, so I think he might have cut him there, or maybe really hurt Dong Hoon Choi. And Choi, you could see, like, he was like, oh shit, like, this kid's got power, like this guy's got power. I better play this safe, I better play this smart, and circled off the rest of the round. Resilient is what I would say. He was smart. He basically did did to Angad what I thought Angad should do to him to win. He basically put him up against the cage, right, and got his wits about him, and cleared his brain and cleared his head. That's so important for a fighter. It's something I wished Anshul would have done in the third round, but like that's a separate conversation for another time. But this is what he did. He grabbed Angad, put him up against the cage, and basically cleared the cobwebs. Came back in the second round with a vengeance, right? Started like showing more feints. That body kick attack I talked about, the crescent kick to the body, the leg kicks and the high kick, that was working very, very, very well for him. Angad, on the other hand, looked like a predator, stalking the guy, landing heavy shots. Another thing I saw was the big issue was he didn't really cage cut Choi properly. If there was just a little bit more cage cutting, I think Angad could have maybe cracked him even harder and maybe put him away. But that's okay. It happens in MMA, especially in high level MMA. It's tough to make decisions in the cage at that point. Choi was very smart, moved laterally. I keep talking about lateral movement, right? Never moved back in a straight line. He never moved back in a straight line, always angled off. And even though he didn't fire back, he always angled off and made sure to avoid damage. He fought a very smart, very controlled fight, dropped Angad in the second round. And credit to Angad, the guy survived, got a body lock, and just like wrestled Choi down to the ground, took his back, and was threatening with a rear naked choke. And a lot of people will say that won him the round, but in every judge's scorecard, if you drop a guy, you pretty much won that round, unless the guy comes back and lays an ass whipping on you like that of all eternity. There's no way you've won that round, right? You can take the guy's back, you can threaten with chokes, but if you got dropped and you got damaged, basically, which is what happened, you've lost that round. I thought Angad could have won the third round, but again, this is our Indian bias speaking, right? Like, we want Angad to win so bad that we're kind of willing to overlook a few things. And the one thing I wanted to overlook real bad was that he got dropped in the third round with the same shot again. It was a counter right. Angad's hands were down and he got caught on the offbeat. I talk about rhythm all the time, right? Like, it's like 1, 2, and he gets caught in between the 1.5. That's where he got caught. His hands were down, he got hit right in the chin. Beautiful shot by Choi, dropped him. Again, Angad showed true grit, true resilience, fought back, grabbed a body lock, and again took Choi to the ground. But it was a little too late to do anything really meaningful at that point. So, given those circumstances, and this is just watching the fight from a bird's eye perspective as a sort of first impression thought, Angad, it was a super close fight. And I agree with the split decision because you could have, again, bias speaking, could have given Angad the third round, right? Because he did take the back, and he, for the first half of the round, Choi was sort of attacking, and Angad, like, it looked like he was getting a second wind and was like really landing shots, and then he got caught with that same shot again, that counter right that southpaws are very, very good at. tough loss for Angad. I don't know what the future is in store for him. But for Dong Hoon Choi, he goes on to face Kiru Singh Sahota, and what a fight that would have been, right? Like Angad versus Kiru in the finals. It would have been like the drama of it all would have been so like spicy, as they say. But sadly, that did not happen. And we've got Dong Hoon Choi versus Kiru Singh Sahota next. I'm hoping Angad can come back, maybe fight in smaller shows and make his way back to a smaller UFC card, because he definitely showed the skills necessary to compete at the highest level. He's just got to work on a few things here and there, just like few defensive liabilities, head movement, cage cutting. That's about it. Takedown defense was incredible. He showed very good ability to get back on his feet and to create separation. I keep talking about that, right? Creating separation and striking. He was able to do that. He was able to create separation, like basically and he was throwing some beautiful body shots in the clinch as well. He could have added a few elbows in the clinch, maybe on the break, like could have cracked Choi with an elbow. But hey, hindsight 2020, right? Like it's you don't know what the fighter's thinking in that particular moment. Something I was quite shocked was I don't know who the corner in Angad's the gentleman in Angad's corner was. I wish he had someone who knew him better and maybe could give him slightly more tactical advice. Maybe could have won him the fight. Whatever. Again, hindsight 2020, right? He could have done better. He could have, should have, would have. But in my book, he performed admirably well. This should give a good boost to Indian MMA, showing us Indian fans and fighters alike that, hey, listen, man, we can compete. We can compete with the right training, with the right kind of just game planning. We can compete with the best in the world, and that's a huge like boost in terms of ego and just in terms of the market for the country as well. I'm so happy that at least Angad got to show off his skill set, and we saw how tough the guy was. It's not a robbery, guys. Please stop this shit. Yeah, it's not a robbery. It's not every close fight's a robbery, and this was a close fight. But sure, Angad landed some very good shots, but Choi dropped him twice, and dropped him bad twice. So you can say all you want, but that's how the judges are going to look at the fight. And just because it was a split decision doesn't mean, it was like the other guy should have won, or was a robbery. It's nothing like that. The better man won tonight. Congratulations to Dong Hoon Choi. My heart goes out to Angad. Our hearts go out to Angad. Anyway, those were my initial thoughts on Angad Bisht versus Dong Hoon Choi at Road to UFC Season 3. Do let us know what you guys think. Please comment below, like, subscribe. Let us know what you thought about the fight. We'll try and answer all your questions sometime soon. For me, Andrew Liu, thank you so much for watching again. Remember, live MMA now.